Editor Steve here. Happy early Mother's Day, Mom. This one's for you. Hello everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Baki Taki. It's sibling week on the podcast. We've got not just one, but two siblings of mine, I guess three in total. Jeff and Catherine are here to talk about today's episode. Say hi.
Hello.
So we're going to find out how this works. This is the first ever duo over Discord record. We've already got talking over people on Discord, and we're going to find out how that works. But anyway,
yeah, everybody's hoping we're going to be like Mouth. But I think maybe we're not going to live up to that expectation.
Now, just before you start, you restarted specifically to do that intro with a special hello. What was it?
I said, yai saw hello. That was me.
But what does that mean?
It means heave.
Yeah, that's what Jae Guevara was saying. Yai saw ho. Yai saw ho. So I said, yai saw hello. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sort of jumping ahead. We'll get to the pirate songs in a
There
bit.
were a lot of details in this to latch on to.
It's very true. Thank you for coming back on, guys. Now, I've sort of run out of characters to cast for the Baki cinematic universe, but I had a fun question I wanted to ask both of you guys, because it's a duo episode. Which Baki character would you say is most like your other co-host? So, Jeff, which Baki character best represents Catherine, and vice versa?
I'm going outside of the gender box, I think.
What do you mean? I'm not like the one female character in this episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, even if it has to be from this episode, it's a pretty rich selection. If I had to cast Catherine, I'd probably I've seen her crush a phone book with, both of her hands, but it's pretty close to one hand. So I'd probably say Hanayama. That'd be my guess.
Kaoru Hanayama's power had transcended that of the gods.
All right, and Catherine?
I'm just quickly scanning to try and refresh my memory of all the characters from this episode. I'm going to have to say Jeff is like the old hotel man who just lets go of the scarf and then gets shot out. Because
thank you.
I don't think Jeff's super combative, but I do think he would be part of the mafia and a successful hotel guy.
I think that makes sense. I think both of them took a trip to Europe and ended up in a big
I do like to piss off the French.
Oh man. All right. Well, that was fun. Let's dive into this episode. So it's been a bit since either of you have been on. I don't think either of you have been on this season since Baki came to prison. Catherine, do you want to lead things off with how the episode started for you?
Okay, so we go through the very intense opening, new theme song, love it, and then we start with an over-the-shoulder shot of some dude that we don't know yet, and then what's his name? Is it Mr. Oliva?
Oliva, yeah.
He does a sit-up into frame, and then just goes, "Oh hey."
Oh hey, did you change up your grip a little bit?
Almost like he's like hosting a children's show, and then they start discussing the intricacies of whatever fight they're halfway through.
Yes. So that's the fun thing, is this part of the episode is a bit of a recap, because they basically replay about a minute and a half from the previous episode, where Oliver decides that he's going to hold the handkerchief less firmly, and then Jae Guevara decides he's going to throw some hair into Oliver's eye, and then we get back to where we left off last episode. Yeah.
Which is
A few questions. Why? First of all, why are they in jail? Last I was here, we were at the Rye Tide tournament, and
So
I know this is another show, but why are they in jail, and why do they have to hold on to the handkerchief?
Would
Can
you
I
believe
attempt
that?
the answer?
Oh yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay, yeah, because I've watched this once, but I haven't watched at the last previous episodes. But if I can try and get it right, Mr. Oliver lives in jail, so he just went home after the tournament, and that's why he's here. Jae Guevara, I believe, I don't know what he did to get into jail, but I think he just wanted to fight Mr. Oliver. And Baki kidnapped the President of the United States.
That is correct. Although I will add that Jae Guevara kidnapped the president's family to get it.
Okay, there you go.
The majority of the cast this season kidnapped the president or his family to go to jail to fight Mr. Oliver. Mr. Oliver. Anyway.
Well, that clears up some things.
Yes.
But okay, so why do they have to hold on to the cloth? That seemed to be not established. Why it was so important? Was that just the rules of the fight?
It did feel like a bait and switch where they sold you on like this crazy theme song where you're expecting people to fight, and then it's actually an anime about like intricate hanky holding.
It is a bit like that. So that is of course the classic 16th century game, Lose or Lose, where if you lose control of the handkerchief, you lose and you lose your honor. They decided to do that for no real reason. I think Jae Guevara took off his do-rag to use as a handkerchief, and I think they just thought it'd be fun. Is the main rationale for that.
There's definitely a kind of immaturity behind how much we both want to win fights. Probably something we should have left behind along the way while growing up.
They really made the right call in deciding essentially not to animate any of this sequence, because I think if there had been any motion in any of the shots, it would have been physically impossible to draw.
Just because of the mechanics of Lose or Lose, or
well, because there's the part where they're both not holding on to it, and they're supposed to be fighting. In every shot we see, they're not actually fighting each other. I was trying to imagine it in my mind, and I couldn't even do it.
I see. You're talking about Gilberto Style.
Lose or Lose, Gilberto Style.
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry. Am I skipping ahead? Is that like a different segment of the fight?
We'll get to Gilberto Style, but even at the beginning, they're holding it explicitly with like a pinky and thumb.
Yeah.
Which is hard to hold on to if you're getting punched in the face.
Everybody's got a plan to hold on to their handkerchief until they get punched in the face. So of course, at the end of the last episode, Oliver was being all cool, holding it with just his pinky and his thumb. This episode, Jae Guevara throws shit in his...
Being all cool by holding it with a pinky and his thumb?
I thought it was cool. I think that, I'm going to use the inverse property law here, but Oliver explicitly says that holding it with your whole fist is not very cool.
Clutching onto it that hard with both hands doesn't look too cool.
So I would say that holding it with your pinky and thumb is quite cool.
That makes sense.
Catherine, can you be the tiebreaker here?
Oh, yes. It's much, much cooler to hold less of the handkerchief.
Thank you. So, this episode begins. The momentum has changed a bit. Jae Guevara throws hair into Oliver's eye for, I believe, the 8th time in the anime. At that point...
Yeah, what is this? Is this guy's thing? He, plucks out his hair and then, needles you with it?
I feel like it's happened so often in Baki that it's just assumed to be a viable technique. It's like if you see someone walk around with hair, they're going to find some way to either stab you with it or perhaps puncture your eardrum.
Yeah.
See, I had never seen that before, and it was a lot to take in when he shot it through his eye. I really did not see it coming.
I guess, yeah, I guess we're a bit numb to it now. It's just like, oh yeah, he's doing the hair thing. But I guess, for the first time, it is a bit surprising.
Well, I went from just thinking like, oh, that's weird, like it didn't hurt at all when he plucked it out of his face, to, oh no, why is it in his eye? It happened so quickly.
Oh man. But Jae Guevara is able to capitalize on that, and he punches Oliver a few times, to the point that Biscuit Oliver ends up holding on to the handkerchief with his whole fist. We know previously that this is not cool, so to sort of, overcompensate, he suggests that they do the remainder of the match Gilberto style.
Before we go into Gilberto style, I want to say that I was interested in Catherine's reaction on Maria's first line, when she just says,
That isn't very cool.
and I think that's the first time she shows up in the episode.
I don't know if she even says a line. Like, they're fighting and then they just cut away to her, and I was like, I don't think I've ever been so confused watching anything. Like, I was so surprised. So I really need a lot more context on, what was her name? Maria?
Maria, yeah.
So why is her bed in the middle of this prison fight? And who is she, and how is she how she is?
Jeff, did you want to answer that one, or I can?
I don't even remember, honestly. I know she's Mr. Oliver's wife.
Girlfriend.
Is that accurate? Girlfriend? Okay. And I don't know how she got out here. I know she lives at the prison with him, I think.
Yes, so she lives in the prison, and Mr. Oliver put the whole king-size bed on his back and walked out like Sisyphus, and then threw the bed into the air and gave his girlfriend a good seat for the fight. And then everybody in the prison said how beautiful she is.
I did really enjoy that like everyone seems to be fighting for her desire. So it's very body positive of Baki.
Yes, sorry, I should be more clear. Everybody said how beautiful she is under threat of Mr. Oliver strangling them to death.
Then all 4,000 of us would be strangled to death.
They are trying kind of to impress her with their fighting.
Oh,
or at least
sure.
Oliver is.
I agree. I think the fighters are trying to impress Maria.
Or trying to sneak into Maria's bed, but we'll get to that, I guess.
Let's not jump ahead. All right, Gilberto style. Jeff, can you tell me what this is?
Yeah, well, apparently I am Gilberto, which
The
I
doctor.
praise.
I am Gilberto.
Yeah. I think this is one of the best narrator cutaways this season. I think. It reminds me a lot of the narrator cutaways from the original season, which were kind of generally more wacky.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this tells us the story of Gilberto, a rich man who happened to be the first man to open a luxury hotel on a certain street in Paris.
In Paris in 1947, he was the first person from outside France to build a giant luxury hotel along the Champs-Élysées.
And this kind of made him the talk of Europe, but the locals were not very happy about him. All of that information is completely worthless, because why we're being introduced to Gilberto is because he was also part of the mafia, and did something the mafia didn't like, and they wanted to kill him. So instead of killing him, they brought him to an isolated location and had him play the handkerchief game with a buff guy 6 times his size when he was 70 years old, with the implication that whoever lost the handkerchief game would be gunned down by maybe like 15 guys with Tommy guns surrounding him. Which raises the question, what was the point of making him play the game? And I wonder if maybe he invented the game, and this was like some kind of cruel irony, and that's why it's called Gilberto style. But anyway, that's what Gilberto style is. And if you haven't heard of it before, you are wrong. Everybody's heard of this at the prison. They're all very aware of Gilberto style. Baki instantly recognizes it.
So Gilberto style, huh? I've heard of it, of course.
That was an incredible description that also did not explain the part that makes it Gilberto style.
Oh yeah, so Gilberto was too old to hold the handkerchief, so he didn't close his fist. And he wasn't allowed.
He wasn't allowed.
Yeah, he wasn't allowed to close his fist.
In contrast to the young, muscular challenger, who was allowed to hold the handkerchief firmly, the weak, 70-year-old Gilberto could only lay it across his palm. In other words, the match was decided before it even began.
Yeah, so you have to hold the handkerchief literally in the palm of your hand. Catherine, I wanted to get your thoughts. What do you think was going through the minds of everybody during, or specifically the 25-year-old jacked guy who had to fight John Gilberto?
Well, I mean, he seemed very into it. I don't know why. So they brought him there. He had to take all of his clothes off. And then I don't know if they show the actual fight. Oh, okay, I guess he gets punched, but yeah, it just seemed strange that he has this whole style named after him, but he pretty much just gave up.
Yeah, he didn't do a lot with the name. The thing that I liked most about that whole thing was at the end they described it as Gilberto's name lives on in this art style, like it's his legacy that lives on beyond him.
Maybe that's why they did it. They told him that this was going to be his legacy before they killed him, and then they just spread it to embarrass him in perpetuity.
I enjoyed the little film strip filter that they put over the flashback.
It's film noir. Trivia time. Do you guys think that John Gilberto is a real person?
No.
I do not.
All right, yeah, you're right. Well, I don't know. There's so much useless backstory for this guy. Did we need to know that he had the first hotel in France or whatever? I thought he was based on a real guy. Couldn't even find anybody.
I also liked the slow motion shot of the gun approaching the sword. I don't know what that had to do with anything, because I don't think he got into a sword fight, or there was guns involved, but it was very long.
It's the epitome of this. This anime takes no risks with its adaptation. I'm sure the original manga just had a panel with a gun and a sword in it, and they were like, how do we animate that? Let's just make them float towards each other. They've done nothing to make it fit more in the medium. Anyhoot. All right. Well, that's Gilberto style. And just to recap, it is the idea that while you are playing the classic 16th century aristocrat game, Lose or Lose, you are not allowed to hold the handkerchief with your fingers. You must just place your hand underneath it so that you should instantly lose. It's a very ballsy maneuver that Oliver decides to do. And then Jae Guevara also decides to play Gilberto style. And I believe this is where you were saying, Catherine, that it's physically impossible to animate this fight.
Yeah, I think it's impossible to picture it in your mind. Try to construct that image of them beating each other up while somehow, I guess, using the wind to keep this handkerchief balanced in their hands. I don't think I can't picture it in my head.
It would certainly require a lot of teamwork. Whenever you move, you'd have to hope your opponent senses it in advance and moves. If you wound up for a punch, they'd have to lean into it to keep
We see the teamwork in action when the wind starts up, and they both team up to make sure that it doesn't fly out of their hands.
They're working together so the handkerchief doesn't fly away.
When the music was playing during that scene, I think it was and then just showing two buff guys not holding hands but working in harmony. That's
why the warden can't quit. Just watch them guys play with handkerchiefs.
It feels like I'm watching like an activity at summer camp, especially the vibe of just a bunch of guys, like just a big circle in a park, and everybody's just watching them hold a handkerchief. But
well, is this the part where they go to Baki and Baki's just like, "This is stupid.
Yes.
Yep.
This is a game for children."
Give me a break. Aristocrats in the mafia. The only thing that kind of stuff's good for is showing off. I mean, come on. The truth is, what these guys are really doing right now is just playing a silly little game with a handkerchief. It's a farce.
I often can't tell if it's the author regretting things. Like, after writing so much about the handkerchief, he's just like, this is really stupid. Like, let's move on. Or if he created the whole thing just so it's one more thing that Baki's better than. Like, what do you think was the point of having this if Baki was just going to shoot it down?
Oh, I don't know. Something to do with the president? Could be any reason.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's. Okay, Jeff.
I do have a answer for that, which is I think it's a way to give Maria some meta commentary that's different from Kozue. Because Kozue also thinks it's stupid, but she kind of comes at it from a position of, oh, you guys got to stop this. Whereas Maria's like, this is just dumb. I'm going home if you guys keep up this nonsense.
But the better question is, what are you doing? I mean, a grown man carrying on like this about a handkerchief? You call that dangerous? Manly? Gah, ridiculous!
That's a good point. So on the topic of Maria, our good friend Baki gets bored of the fight and ends up snuggling into bed with Maria. Catherine, can you just describe this scene? What it looks like, what's going on?
Well, I like to imagine the sequence of events they didn't show on camera, which is where Baki like either sleepwalks over to Maria or it walks all the way over to her bed and then falls asleep in boredom, because we know that he fell asleep due to boredom, but he was standing on the other side of the prison when we last saw him being bored.
I feel like he had to walk over there awake and then maybe do like one of those yawn falls into the bed and then snuggles up. He gets pretty cozy with Maria, almost like she's a big pillow or something.
Excuse me, young man.
This is what I'm saying. They all sort of want her to think that they're cool.
I mean, Baki is actively flirting with her at a few points during this conversation, I'd say.
Maria, the bed's so soft, and you were so warm. And you smelled wonderful. Plus, you were so kind.
He's in her bed.
Yeah, I mean, that too.
Oh man, nobody tell Cozy.
Oh, sorry. I was too bored from the fight.
So I have this. When I was watching this, I was picturing like Kozue at her, maybe like she got a job as like a GPS operator, and she's like trained in on this fight because the satellite moves in, and then she just sees Baki in bed with another woman, and she's like, no.
Oh, I have so many questions about the GPS, but we'll get to that later. Abruptly, we'll get to that later.
Oh my gosh. All right, yeah, so Baki falls asleep on Maria, which infuriates Oliva, of course. But then Maria lets him have it, lets him know that, like, of course Baki fell asleep. This is boring. This is stupid. Why can't you just punch Jae Guevara? So that's what happens. That's what we get for the next segment of the fight. Although before Oliver can convert his punches into anything, Jae Guevara seizes the moment, and he almost is able to pull off his signature stick my hair in your ear trick. Catherine, I know you were freaked out by his first hair trick. Did you like the second one?
Well, this is what revealed to me that this is his like thing. Like he does this, like he's the hair guy that just ugh. Am I imagining this? Did we see the inside of his ear? Like, did we have a shot that was in the ear and
Yeah.
piercing his eardrum.
It's a very specific thing, right? Like he pierces the eardrum, then he slides another piece through to, I believe, destroy the cochlea.
Yeah, which he did before. He uses his hairs and then like he twists them around the cochlea and then pulls, and and then you lose your sense of balance.
You know what? It is creative. Like if you gave me like 100 years to come up with ways to fight people, I don't think I'd come up with ripping out my hairs and piercing various things with them.
And that's why you're not number 2. However, Jae Guevara is, of course, stopped by
Wait, not
Oliva.
number 2 what?
Number 2 is the name of Jae Guevara. That's like his prison nickname.
He's Mr. Number 2.
Oh, how would I have known that? Because he was the second guy to kidnap the president? I don't know.
That's fair. So Jae Guevara is able to stick the hair in Oliva's ear. However, Oliva is able to stop him from twisting and losing his cochlea. And instead, Oliver slaps him in the chest, causing Jae Guevara to cartwheel through the air like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. Like a PowerPoint transition.
Whoa! That was nuts! He knocked him right into the wall!
Jeff, did you enjoy the... Did you enjoy Oliver's hit there?
It was like watching a Mission Impossible movie that suddenly cut to an animated portion drawn in Looney Tunes style, as like one of the guys went flying. Like it was so poorly done. It looked like it looked like it was being played for slapstick, and just flying through the air in a cartwheel into the wall. But I was happy because it was better than them like grappling over a handkerchief.
I see. You share Maria's opinion.
Yes. Apt criticism from Maria and Baki.
Did you guys like after the hit where the crowd starts going, unchained, 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 and then they stop, they start
that
going...
was my favorite part. Unchained, 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 unchained.
Unchained, 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 unchained.
These guys sure seem happy.
It must have been like a dubbing thing or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe a commercial break, assuming they aired this somewhere that has commercials, but like it was so unorganic. Yeah, so the crowd was pretty excited that Oliver won, or once again they're scared that Oliver will strangle all 4,000 of them. Big ups to Oliver there. Were you guys surprised at that outcome? I say like that's the real outcome.
No.
No, because they draw him the biggest, so I assumed he would win.
Oh, that's because you haven't seen the earlier episodes when they deliberately introduced a bigger guy for Jae to beat up first.
Oh yeah, that was good when he threw him. Yeah, so this is where we get my very funny joke that I started the episode with. Jae Guevara, he's not dead, and in fact he starts going, "I saw ho." And then it turns out that is a little pirate song that he came up with. In my opinion, it feels like something that the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney would sing, not something that any real pirate, especially a pirate in the year 2000, would sing. But what?
Oh, I would love a Baki animatronic ride like Pirates of the Caribbean. I would pay so much money to go on that ride.
You just go on a log flume through the Rai Tai tournament. It's just repeatedly Muhammad Ali kicking Kaio Joe in the balls.
But you just have like two static animatronics that don't move, like rotating back and forth around a handkerchief connecting them.
The handkerchief does. Oh, and the wind is blowing. That would actually.
The wind
would be
blows through the tunnel, but the handkerchief is made of plastic, so it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but like literally, like his song was like, "Yeah, I saw a hoe. I'm gonna find some treasure. Open a bottle of rum. Go on the open sea." Like it's so generic.
Yeah, I saw a hoe. Set a course for treasure. Yeah, I saw a hoe. Set the bottles of rum aside. Yeah, I saw a hoe. Burn the iron bright.
I honestly feel like Itagaki thought that, like, read a headline that, like, there were modern day Somalian pirates and just never actually looked into what pirates meant nowadays. But
Oh, wait, is he actually a pirate?
yes, and he sails around in a pirate ship. He's also the president of a country that's sort of like Cuba.
What?
Do you know who Che Guevara is?
No.
He's a revolutionary leader of like South America who this person is very vaguely based off of, but he also wasn't a pirate. So I don't know where the piracy comes from.
Jae Guevara feels like just a whole bunch of ideas that came together to create a unique character that for some reason looks exactly like if he wasn't named and looked like Che Guevara, it would be a lot more of a, defendable character.
Is it similar to like the Muhammad Ali sort of thing?
Muhammad Ali is definitely like, this is just Muhammad Ali, but I changed his name. Che Guevara is like an alternate universe fanfic of Che Guevara where he's Japanese, a pirate, and 30 years younger.
Amazing.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say about his song is if you watch the dub, it's so much better. Like the dub singer is like giving it his all. And as he gets like further in the song, it like crescendos, and he does like a good job vocally performing it. And also the whole thing is in Japanese, not just the word heave. Which leads me to believe, I don't know why they decided to keep the heave translated into Japanese in the English dub.
Wait, is Yae Sa Ho Japanese?
Yeah, Yae Sa Ho is just heave. Like it gets translated as heave ho in the subtitles. So if you're looking for a good song, go listen to the Japanese one.
All right, I'll make sure to play that. I totally believe it because, man, English Jae Guevara phones it in. Like it sounds like he's like. Which, to be fair, he did get slapped about 50 feet into a brick wall. So I get why he wasn't putting his all into the song. Yeah. So that about leads into we I think that's when we step away from the fight in the prison yard. Jae Guevara has come back.
Yeah,
he put some dirt on his
into it's generous.
Well, that's when the GPS shows up. So Catherine, talk about the GPS for us.
Okay, well, so we're in the middle of the pirate guy's redemption. They're fighting, and then suddenly the narrator just goes, "It happened all over the world." And then we're seeing a bunch of GPSs be inaccurate.
This says I'm in the ocean. Oh.
Also, I didn't realize that the guy driving, I want to say Baki's dad around was George W. Bush.
Well, that's because it's George H.W. Bush. But,
oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
makes way more sense that way.
So
that was a good reveal later on in the episode.
And they really spell it out. That's I do like that, because in the Muhammad Ali episodes, I kept having to tell guests that character you just watched was Muhammad Ali. But not this episode. They make it very clear that this is current President of the United States, George W. Bush.
This is really what driving is like. For George Bush, President of the United States, the so-called land of the free, huh?
Jeff, do you want to do you remember what was going on with the GPS?
The GPS is set up so that if certain people move too fast, it zooms in on them, I think. Does that sound right? So Mr. Oliver punched Jae Guevara so hard that the worldwide GPS network elected to focus specifically on him, which what meant that for everybody else, the GPS was just less reliable.
Huh? The sea? Oh? It says we're driving through the forest.
So moving into walls and that kind of stuff.
Was this like set up in another episode that the GPS is like that? Like, why would they not show something linking the two events?
So inexplicably, yes, we did talk about this for no reason 5 episodes ago, that the world's GPS system is at all times monitoring 3 men, Jae Guevara, Biscuit Oliva, and Yujiro Hanma. And if any of them break out beyond a light jog, then half of the world's GPS system will stop what it's doing and try and figure out where they're going. And that
how did they get the trackers on them?
They just follow them at all times. It's like just imagine like a guy, like they have a camera following.
That's not how GPS works.
Well, that's not how your GPS works.
It's not how GPS works most of the time, but sometimes they do break beyond a light jog.
You know what?
If it's just people spying, if there's just people spying on you, what do? They walkie-talkie in. Oh, he's moving too quick. Like, people seeing you doesn't measure speed.
Yeah. Also, you raise a great point that like GPS satellites don't usually have cameras on them. That like look at one little spot on the Earth. But that's how GPS worked in the year. I'm gonna guess 2004, whenever this was made.
It was a different time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it would have been earlier than that because it's George H.W. Bush.
Well, I wanted to argue that, Jeff. I don't think it is.
Oh, okay. Is this arc set? You always said that the other ones were set in the 90s.
Yes, but I meant like 99. I was being very confused.
Oh, okay. So this might be... It looks a lot less like regular George Bush, but it could easily be regular George Bush. He's got that kind of
Which one's the regular one?
endearing smile.
I like regular Bush, not the new Bush.
Yeah. Well, that throws off my whole read of the episode. I gotta go back and watch it again.
Yeah, you're ready to talk about like the Gulf War. So yeah, what are Bush and Yujiro up to? Well, they're driving around. They're driving around in a security limo with a bunch of other security vehicles around them. Plain-clothed security detail that look to me like they're wearing Secret Service outfits, but that's just me. And they seem to be driving towards, I guess, the president's mansion. Catherine, I'm going to go back to you again because this is one of the... I think we'll all try and explain what's going on here because I don't know if any of us can.
Do you want me to explain the blonde guy who...
Yeah. What's going on with the blonde guy? Our good friend Chamomile Lesson.
I feel like... Okay, so there's... like... He has a flashback that essentially amounts to him standing over George Bush going, I'm more powerful than America, and also I run this island. We are as powerful as America.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing I remember. Oh, also just before that, there's a lot of shots of cars that they really broke out the 3D animation for. Like, they really fancied it up for those cars.
Well, they are the president's cars.
Of course. They're high-tech.
All right. Jeff, do you want to add anything to that? I think that was all accurate. Chamomile Lesson did say that his island nation is equal in strength to America.
Yeah, I guess to tie it together, maybe to help Catherine's context, Chamomile Lesson is from the same island as Che Guevara, the pirate from the prison.
Mm-hmm.
That only complicates things.
I just, all I want to say is Chamomile Lesson is an amazing name, and his accent is the best thing about this episode.
I said I'd keep you safe, but protecting someone whose intent is to commit suicide is outside the scope of my duties.
Nobody move or else I'll twist the president's spine 360 degrees.
It's so unplaceable. But it's not the same as Jae Guevara's at all. Mr. President, you are under arrest.
It's almost just like a schoolyard bully accent.
So yeah, just to color in his background, Catherine. So the last time we saw Chamomile Lesson, he had been hired as a part of the president's Secret Service, then did a backflip behind the president and said, "I could kill you anytime I want. I'm unstoppable." And also, there's two of me in every state in America, and we've infiltrated your nuclear power plants and airplanes, and we can take them down if we need to. And that which signaled the beginning of the era of bare hands. In this episode, though, it inexplicably, it seems like after he did this, he is still working as the president's Secret Service. Maybe because nobody could fire him, but...
Well, I think the deal was, he's like, I am choosing to be on your Secret Service. You can't stop me, so that I'm always right next to you. Except for this car ride.
Yeah, I gotta say, George Bush took way too long to resolve this problem. Like, I get it.
Why does George Bush think that, he has offered to protect him? Is that a deal they made?
Well, he is a part of the Secret Service, so I guess. That's what I was trying to get at. I don't understand. He infiltrated the Secret Service to intimidate Bush, but apparently he's also very faithfully doing the job, is, I think, what's happening.
There's a strong guy around, in which case he's out.
Mr. President, I didn't sign up to protect you from suicide. Yeah, so...
He's not even going to try. He's just like, no, sorry, I won't win. Nice knowing ya.
So can we set the scene quickly, which is Chamomile Lesson is in a room on his own, looking out at George Bush being driven in by Yujiro. And Yujiro and Mr. Bush walk up the stairs, open the door, and we just switch camera angles, and somehow Bush has gotten to the far side of the room next to the window. Well, Lesson has now gotten to the door. And they're just standing there in what's going to happen next kind of moment.
Yeah, I thank you for bringing up the framing of this scene. They do just sort of teleport in through the door. It appears that, from my understanding, as President of the United States, when you end your term, you get a free wish that Yujiro will do for you.
At the end of your presidential term, you're allowed to make one final request.
That was my understanding. And
it's different. It's different in the Japanese dub, but just as confusing.
Okay, let me say what I got from the English one first. It seems like he got a free wish, and he asked Yujiro to, I guess, kill him, which means that Chamomile Lesson will have to stand in the middle of it, and then Yujiro will destroy Chamomile Lesson. That's Bush's plan. What is it like in the dub?
I don't remember. I remember one of them was, this is your last favor as president, and one of them was, this is your presidential wish. And so it doesn't really help. Both imply that Yujiro has deigned to grant the favor and or wish of a standing president. But how many you get is debatable. I'm guessing this is a favor to Muhammad Ali.
To Muhammad Ali's president?
Yeah, like Muhammad Ali was a great American, so he was like, you know what? I'll let the president tell me to do one thing, even if it's kill him.
Yeah, so that's Bush's amazing plan. Chamomile lesson, as you were saying, Catherine basically says, "I can't do shit. This guy's gonna kick this. I can't beat this guy. I turned down the offer."
And he states this as if like everyone should know, and it's just like a fact. He's just like, I will not do that. I can't because of this reason. Sorry, you fool.
you old idiot.
What I mean is, it's impossible for me to protect you if he decides to attack. He's more than capable of countering any move I make. He's that strong. There's nothing I can do.
But Chamomile lesson, honestly, even though he said that, he does have a trick up his sleeve, and he manages to do a flying jump kick into current president of the United States, George Bush, right in his chest, so that he flies out the window, so that he can then protect. He can stop Yujiro from going out the window, which I thought was very selfless of Chamomile.
It's the only way to keep him safe.
Sorry, Mr. President. It's the only way. Oh my god. Yeah.
Well, speaking about teleporting.
Big oopsie on Chamomile's side. He turns around to stop Yujiro from going out the window, but it turns out Yujiro was already out the window and caught the president. Also, thank God he did, because Bush would have certainly died. They were not on the first floor of this house. This is
another thing that would have been great to animate. Can you imagine having seen that sequence of him leaping out the window and catching him?
I like to think he ran down the stairs and then ran out of the building and got there before the Bush hit the ground.
That would have been a great sequence. You're cutting back and forth to the stairs.
Oh, that would have been great. But that's basically where it ends, by the way. Like, Yujiro, who had said previously, you made a bad idea, Mr. President, now I have to kill you. And the president, who came here to destroy Chamomile Lesson, the scene ends with Yujiro holding the president, sticking his finger in his ear, and and then just sort of going, I'd love to talk to your master, Jae Guevara. Something that will never happen.
Oh, also once he caught the president out the window, did he then just like kill him?
But I don't think so. I don't think he did.
So that's like a valid question though, because he looks dead, and do we see him again?
You know what? This was the president's last wish. Maybe this is like canon. Like, Yujiro just killed the president, but it was at the end of his term anyway, so nobody cared.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to look that up, because I was reading. I read the I guess it would be right after this, the first chapter where Obama shows up in Baki, and that's a great chapter.
No way. No way.
Oh, every president's in it. When Obama comes in, he has to swear allegiance to Yujiro, because every U.S. president has to.
Oh, I can't wait for that season.
I don't know if they'll animate it, to be honest. I feel like that might not make the cut. But we'll see. Yeah. So that's is that the end of the episode? I think it is. I think we just.
No, we flash back to.
Oh, you're right. I just didn't leave any notes. Yeah.
Just a second, looking at the sky, and then it ends. So doesn't help much.
Did you guys watch?
Wait, someone was looking at the sky?
Yeah, we flash back to the prison, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, right.
Jay's on
Oh,
the
I had a
ground.
question about the prison, because we see it from a bird's eye view a lot. Is it supposed to be, like, I know the Pentagon isn't a prison, but is it supposed to be like a buff Pentagon?
You are 100% on the money. This is the Black Pentagon. What you're referring to as the Pentagon is really, I would describe it as the White Pentagon. but this is an equally important building in the U.S. government, the Black Pentagon, where they keep all of their 4,000 deadliest prisoners.
Just as a listener of the podcast, I would like to point out, having watched the episode, the Black Pentagon is also white. Like, its walls are white.
It's got.
We saw it on GPS camera.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway, did either of you guys watch the end credits? I think it's not to color your opinion. I do think it's the worst end credits of any Baki so far.
I think it gives you more information than the other ones. Like it's very condensed. You see chains, like prison chains, and then you see the 3 dudes that we saw in the fight, and those are our main dudes.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. Very, very condensed, and also super cheap. All right, well, another great episode. Jeff and Catherine, what do you guys think of this episode?
I think it was pretty good. I do think I almost wish I had been in Catherine's shoes, because I think the best parts of this episode are the things that you don't have context for. As a Baki episode, I would say it's very standard. I like the parts with Camille Lessing because it was very fun. I thought the hanky fight was one of the worst gimmicks in the show so far. But I did like seeing Mr. Second fly through the air cartwheeling.
That's very fair.
It was a wild ride from start to finish. I think this is the most disoriented I've ever been in a Baki episode. Just all of the context. I had no context. But I do think it has my favorite moment that I have had watching Baki is just that cutaway to Maria. Like this giant blob of a woman.
A giant woman. A giant woman.
And they animate her in a not humanly possible way on this mattress in the middle of a prison. And they just cut to her for a moment and then right back into the fight. That's my favorite. That's Baki at its best.
Oh my gosh. And it's so crazy that like Kozue is not even in this season. Like Maria is the only female character, I would say. There might have been
take
one
Maria over Kozue. Give me more Maria. I love her.
I'll have to check. I hope she comes back. I know Kozue is basically written out of the show from now on, but Maria, I haven't looked into her character future. Hey, editor Steve here. I wanted to look up Maria on the Baki wiki, and I just had to share some of I am so grateful for everybody who put stuff on the Baki wiki, but let me just read a passage. All of us said that Maria is always tense and in a bad mood, although Baki gave her a good time and made her feel relaxed. In fact, not much is known about her. Maria is an extremely mysterious figure. This is in her personality section, by the way. Also, the trivia section for Maria is just that she is possibly based on Carol Yeager, the fattest woman in the world. Looking her up, I don't really see anything that implies this beyond the fact that they're both really big women. Anyway, also, answering the fan question of the week, which prisoner do I think would be the best golfer? I assume this is talking about the death row inmates, so I'm going to limit it to that. I think if we go based off of their skills, I think Sikorsky, with his incredible grip, I think he'd be able to get the form down pretty well. But I think personality-wise, because I don't see Sikorsky golfing, I don't see Sikorsky doing anything than hanging like a bat in his room. I think Dorian would be the most likely to just go golfing, have some fun, eat some candy. So yeah, that'll be my answer for this week. Considering how difficult she is to get around, though, I don't know if she'll make too many appearances. All right. Well, that was episode 1 of Tri-Month, basically. We've got... I kept thinking there were 13 episodes of this season. There's only 12. So there's only 4 more episodes left. What's one of them...
Tri-Month?
It's what is it? I'll explain it later. In a later podcast.
What?
Anyway, next week we've got something special.
You're not gonna tell us?
That's all the Baki we've got to talkie. I'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Friday.